1061. Ray, shout out to a listener. The listener has sent us a very long list of coaches who have won the Ghana Premier League since 1956. It must have taken you hours to put this together. We appreciate it. I don't know the name of the listener, but thank you so much for sending this. This is really interesting. Really, 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 really interesting. Really appreciate it. Look, it's a labor of love because it must have taken you days probably to type all of this.
I want to the analysis. I want to get the analysis.
Oh, okay. It's quite lengthy though, Ray.
No, I like the analysis. So let's hear the analysis.
Okay, Ray, you want me to read all of it?
No, let's start it. I think he wants to draw a certain conclusion.
All right. So the message says that out of the 67 Ghana Premier League seasons, out of the 67 Ghana Premier League seasons, 63 seasons were played and declared. Only 4 seasons were either abandoned or not played at all. I think of a few. I remember when Anas happened and a few others. Yeah. No league competition was held in 1957 due to Ghana's independence, preps, and celebration. No problem. No league. Okay, it goes on. All right, so I don't know where you want me to begin the analysis from.
Okay, I think I like it from the foreign coaches part. Yeah, so out of the 63.
Out of the 63 seasons played and declared. And listen, this is also for you. Out of the 63 seasons played and declared, foreign coaches have won 9 seasons, right? With 8 coaches, leaving 54 seasons to be won by 32 different Ghanaian coaches.
Okay.
All right? 9 seasons of the Ghana Premier League out of the 63 were won by foreign coaches, representing a win rate of 14.4%. 54 Ghana Premier League seasons out of the 63 were won by Ghanaian coaches, and that represents a win rate of 85.7%. Now it says, 40 different head coaches, both local and foreign, have won the 63 Ghana Premier League titles since 1956. Right? Okay, so 32 Ghanaian coaches, 8 foreign coaches. Okay, the only 2 foreign coaches to win 2 Ghana Premier League trophies, one is Joseph Emba, who won it for Kotoko 63-64 and 64-65. Okay, I need the screen to go up a bit. Let's see if you can do. Okay, right. So Joseph Emba, he won. Oh, the guys, they have gone too quickly.
Let's push it up a bit. Let's push it up a bit.
All right, let's bring it down slightly. Let's bring it. Okay, that's fine. So Joseph Emba won the league twice as a foreigner, 63-64, 64-65. The other coaches have won 1 trophy each. Okay. Now, out of the 53 seasons that Ghanaian coaches have won, 53 have been won by different Ghanaian coaches.
Right.
But in 1959, 2 coaches, Coach Kwabena Owusu and Coach Kobna, won as a combined team. So 2 head coaches put together.
Okay.
All right. Now, out of the 32 different Ghanaian coaches who have won the Ghana Premier League, Sir Cecil Jones Atuquefe is the most successful with 5. Right? He did the 5 with Hearts. Coach Charles Ado-Odamte 4. Malik Jaber 4. Samade 3. Herbert Ado 3. Robert Odro Arthur 2. Coach Mama 2. Ibrahim Sunday 2, King Ajay 1-2, Ike Afrani 2, Bashir Hayford 2, Masud Didi Dramani 2. 12 Ghanaian coaches have won 2 or more Ghana Premier League trophies. 22 different Ghanaian coaches have won 1.
Okay.
Now, out of the 21 Ghana Premier League trophies for Hearts, with 12 different coaches, only 3 foreign coaches have won the league with Hearts. Richard Hedin, Karl-Heinz Weigand, and Mitko Kostadinov Dobrev. Right? Now, the remaining 9 were Ghanaians. So, Robert Odro Arthur twice, Ado-Odamte 4 times, King Ajay Pele 2, Samade 1, Ike Afrani 1, Cecil Jones Atuquefe 5, Herbert Ado 1, Ninoy Thompson 1, and Samuel Boyd 1. Now, out of the 24 Ghana Premier League trophies for Kotoko, with 19 different head coaches, only 2 foreign coaches have won for Asante Kotoko. So Joseph Emba and Ishmael Tamas Kurtz Massimo Morat have won, with the remaining 17 being Ghanaian coaches. Right? Let's move on. Now, out of the 4 that Ashanti Gold, the old Ashanti Gold won, 2 were foreign coaches, David Booth and Oswaldo Sampaio. The other 2 being Malik Jaber and Bashir Hayford. Now, the Ghana Premier League, the only Ghana Premier League title Brecum Chelsea has was won by Hans van der Pluijm. I remember him. Now, ever since Hearts was formed in 1911, Hearts have appointed 72 coaches, 53 being Ghanaian, 19 being foreign. Okay, so it goes on and on. Kotoko, 91 coaches since 1935, 65 Ghanaian, 24 foreign. Okay, now the person's conclusion is that Ghanaian coaches easily win the Ghana Premier League, but the main problem they face is a lack of respect and support from administrators, referees, players, and football fans in general. So he says that admins, refs, players, and football fans need to love Ghanaians, and they need to make conscious efforts to respect and support them, paying them on time, paying them good salaries to improve their work. Now, it says any coach who wins the Ghana Premier League in the 68th season, that message is way down. That message is way down. Okay. So it says that, okay, so any coach who wins the Ghana Premier League, which is the 68th season, becomes the 42nd coach to win the Ghana Premier League in history. Now, the credit is Bright Yeboah Taylor. Credit goes to Bright Yeboah Taylor. And Mr. Hayford Boateng, he compiled this. He's a sports historian with the Gan West Municipal Assembly. That's quite interesting.
You know, I've not independently verified or cross-checked everything,
we'll
we'll do that later. But
Yes.
it's a good piece. It's a solid write-up. So thank you very much for giving us this. You see, the long and short of this matter is that this season, Hassan Kotoko, with the introduction of a foreign coach, their chances of winning the league is slim.
Oh, how so?
No, per the probability and per the data.
But the data shows that Ghanaians win.
The data shows that Ghanaian coaches win the league more than foreign coaches.
That is true.
With an 85% win rate.
Yes.
Foreign coaches, per the statistics, do around 14%. Okay? Now, if Kotoko and Hearts have foreign coaches today,
it means that
their
likelihood of
they are on the
winning.
other side of the probability.
Okay.
The probability that they would win the Ghana Premier League is lower than clubs that have local coaches. You understand?
Yeah.
So Hearts and Kotoko, we know what to be happening. Mediama and Co have local coaches, so we know where they can go from here. Heart of Lions, you know, some of the other teams, they have local coaches. So again, if you're a Hearts of Oak coach, if you're a Hearts of Oak fan, you're a Kotoko fan, this data is pointing to the fact that your chances of winning the league is slim with foreign coaches.
Quite interesting. Time check is 9 minutes after 8. You can send in your own comments 054 257 1061. 054 257 1061. Let me go to the Zoom. Let me go to the line. Our very good friend, Coach Kwabena Danso, is joining us. Let me see if I can hear him. Coach, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Nathan. I'm doing very well, and you?
Yes, we are fine. We are fine. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get into the conversation. I don't know where you want to take us this morning. I'm assuming you want to start from the Community Shield. I could be wrong, but anyway.
Yeah, definitely from the Community Shield.
Wonderful. Let's get into that. Arsenal beat Manchester City by 3-0 to win the first piece of official silverware ahead of the start of the new Premier League season. What are the big takeaways from this? And when you finish, I'll ask you whether what this result should tell either side, or whether or not we should even be concerned about this result. But let me take your initial thoughts and maybe your biggest takeaways, or some of the things you want to highlight from the 2026 Community Shield.
Okay, good morning once again, Nathan. To be honest with you, I think the Community Shield is a very deceptive trophy to win in football. Very, very deceptive. Because, you see, in the last 34 Community Shield that has been played, out of 34, only 8 times has the winner of the Community Shield, gone on to win the Premier League title itself. So it is 8 out of 34. And to me, that alone tells you that winning the Community Shield is not a guarantee that you are going to win the Premier League title. Because in the last 34 in the Premier League, only 8 times has the team who won the Community Shield been able to, go into the season and then win the Premier League title. So to me, as I began my analysis, I said the Community Shield is the most deceptive trophy in English football. And I think that this particular stat, speaks to it. And again, Nathan, in the last 15 times that they've played the Community Shield, the last 15, it has happened only once for the winner of the Community Shield to go into the season and then win the Premier League. So 1 out of 15. And that was Manchester City, who did it in the year 2018-2019 season. In fact, to make matters worse, the last 6 winners of the Community Shield, they've not been able to win the Premier League. The last 6 winners of the Community Shield, they've not been able to win the Premier League. So winning the Community Shield is good. It's at least it will count as you've won something. But to me, if there's something that the recent history in the Premier League has shown us, it has shown us that winning the Community Shield doesn't necessarily guarantee that you are going to have success in the upcoming season. And I wanted to flip the coin and look at the teams who lost the Community Shield. And Nathan, it will interest you to know that in the last couple of seasons in the Premier League, it is more beneficiary to lose the Community Shield than winning it. Why? Because in the more recent history, the loser of the Community Shield has won the Premier League more than the winners of the Community Shield. So, looking at this particular stats that I've shared with you, this is the runners-up of the Community Shield who has gone into the season to win the Premier League season. And looking at 2019-2020, in the recent years, Liverpool lost the Community Shield, but they won the Premier League. 2021-2022, Man City lost the Community Shield, but they won the Premier League. 22-23, Man City lost the Community Shield, but they won the Premier League. 23-24, Man City lost the Community Shield, but they won the Premier League. So in recent history, if there's one thing that the Community Shield has taught us, it is winning the Community Shield doesn't automatically guarantee that you are going to have an excellent season or you are going to win the Premier League. And that is why I'm saying that winning the Community Shield in itself, to me, seems a little bit deceptive. Now let's get into the game proper. Nathan, I want to look at this game from 2 angles. The first angle will be from the statistical point of view. We will look at the stats in the game.
Okay. And
then the next one will be the tactical point of view. So let's begin with the statistical point of view. I've shared an image with you and it's the stats from the game. As we all know, in terms of the goals, Arsenal 3, Manchester City 0. So in football, once any team wins by 3-0, it's a resounding victory. Because 3-0 means that, come on, you did excellent work in the game. But to me, the stats say something different. The stats from the game paint a different picture. The stats from the game tells us that the game was closer than the scoreline showed us. Now, Nathan, let's look at the transition and then the pressing in the game. In football, we have transitions and then we have pressing.
Okay.
They are 2 different things altogether. Even with transition, we have offensive or the attacking transition. We have the defensive or the defending transitions. So the attacking transitions is when you are defending and you win the ball. So as soon as you win the ball, you are transitioning from defense to attack. And then the opposite is the defensive transition. Now looking at the game, total transitions, Arsenal 30, Man City 37. So it means that in terms of transition to attack, Man City did more than Arsenal. Now we have what we call the transition shot. The transition shot means that, okay, you transition from defense to attack. They did end up in a shot, either a shot on target or any shot at all. Because at times teams will transition, but eventually they will lose the ball in the final third. So the transition did not lead to a shot. But This is transitions that led to a shot in the game. Arsenal had 3, Man City had 3. It means that in terms of transitioning to a shot, it was the same for both Arsenal and then Manchester City. Now the edge from transitions, Arsenal were better. 0.78 for Arsenal, 0.47 for Manchester City. If we are looking at the meters per transition, the meters per transition tell you the distance that you covered when you won the ball, the distance that you covered. Arsenal is 30.8, Man City is 25.5. So in this particular regard, once again, it means that Arsenal was better than Manchester City. They were able to drive the ball forward for a much longer period than what Man City did. Now, possession regains. The opponent has the ball. You must press them to win the ball. So possession regains, Arsenal had 68.
Okay.
Man City 67. So the difference was 1. Now regain to shot. If you were able to press and regain the possession, where did the possession that you won lead you? Did it lead to a shot or you eventually lost it? So possession or regain to shot, Arsenal is 4.4%, Man City is 4.5%. So in that regard, Man City was edging Arsenal. Counter pressing success. In football, you don't just set up to play, to attack. No, you set up to press. In terms of the pressing structure of both sides, Man City had more success in their pressing, 11.8% as compared to 7.5% for Arsenal. And then the rest defense vulnerability, Man City 10.6%, Arsenal 5.6%. So that is it from the start in the game. But where the match was spent, Nathan, this is very, very interesting. For Man City, with the ball, 28% were spent in the attacking third. For Arsenal, 17% were spent in the attacking third. It means that Man City spent more time in the attacking third of Arsenal than Arsenal spent more time in the attacking third of, or in the defensive third of Manchester City. But you see, the interesting thing is that for Man City, who spent more time in the attacking third of Man City, which is the defensive third of Arsenal, they scored 0 goals. Arsenal, who spent just 17% in the attacking third of their team, which is the defensive third of Man City, they scored 3 goals. So it tells you that although Arsenal spent fewer minutes or fewer time in the defensive third of Man City, they were more purposeful. Again, in the middle third, Man City had 52%, whereas Arsenal had 43%. And then in the defensive third, Arsenal kept the ball for 41% in their own defensive third, whilst Man City kept the ball for 20% in their own defensive third. So this tells us one thing, that in the game, Man City were, in quote, more attacking than Arsenal. Man City were more attacking than Arsenal. Again, I have another stat here where I am going to say, as I said, we are beginning with the statistical analysis before we move on to the tactical analysis. Now, this is another stat from the game. Now, we have some 16 indicators here where we are going to use to analyze this game. The first one is the expected goals. Nathan, for the expected goals of Arsenal, it was 1.88. But Arsenal scored 3 goals. It means that Arsenal did better than their SG. And for a team in football, if you do better than your SG, there are 2 major reasons. One, it means that your opponent defensively made a lot of errors or individual errors where they shouldn't have made. And 2, it means that your offensive players did better than they had to do in terms of their finishing. So these are the 2 things that, help a team to outdo their SG. Either silly errors from your opponent or unprecedented finishing quality from your attackers. And to me, in the game, I would attribute the overperformance of the SG of Arsenal to the errors of the defensive unit of Man City, especially their goalkeeper, Gigi Donnarumma, who is a shot stopper. Because you see, for Donnarumma, he is not a goalkeeper that is very flamboyant with the ball. He is not a goalkeeper who is going to build up from the back like Ederson Moraes. But what Donnarumma will give you is the excellent ability to stop the shot. Mind you, joining Man City from PSG, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. He had won the best goalkeeper in Europe before joining Manchester City. So he is a goalkeeper who is noted for his excellent ability in stopping shots. But yesterday in the game, I think, Nathan, you would agree with me that David Raya was better in terms of stopping shots than Gigi Donnarumma.
Yep.
And to me, it's part of the reasons why Arsenal were able to outperform their SG. The performance of Donnarumma was not up to the standard. Again, in terms of shots and then shot on target, Man City's 12 shots, 5 on target. Arsenal 9 shots, 5 on target. Big chances, 4 for Arsenal, 1 for Man City. So if Arsenal were able to create 4 big chances, then it means that defensively, Man City was vulnerable. So as I said, to me, the reasons why Arsenal outperformed their SG was the defensive vulnerability of Man City and then the errors of their goalkeeper, Gigi Donnarumma. Now, this is where it gets interesting. In terms of ball possession, 57.5% for Man City, 42.5% for Arsenal. It means that City had more ball possession than Arsenal. In terms of the field tilt, Nathan, the field tilt is 70.8 for Man City, 29.2 for Arsenal.
Okay.
So clearly, Man City did not really play bad, because looking at this field tilt, come on, 70.8 at the top level against the defending champions is very, very, very difficult, but they were able to do that. Now, final third entries, 55 for Man City, 21 for Arsenal. It means that Man City got into the final third of Arsenal more than Arsenal was able to get into the final third of Man City. Pitch control, 36% for Man City, 34% for Arsenal. Now, we have what we call the box entries. That is getting the ball into the 18-yard box of the opponent. The box entries, 13 for Man City, 12 for Arsenal. Now, box entry to shots. Because you see, Nathan, at times, teams will get into the box, but eventually they cannot shoot. It means that, yes, they will get into your box, but you'll be compact, so they would have to take the ball outside the box once again. But if they're able to take the ball into the box and then translate that into a shot, Arsenal did that 54%. Man City did that 54%. So it means that box entry to shot, it was the same for the two teams. Progressive passes, Man City 66, Arsenal 35. So it means that in terms of progressive passes, Man City was better than Arsenal. Now, deep completions, Arsenal just 9 in deep completions, and one of them was the pass from Miles Lewis Kelly to the first goal scorer, Ricardo Calafiori. And then Man City was 13. Crosses, and then the completion, 8 for Arsenal, 4 completed. It means that they completed half of their crosses. 14 crosses for Man City, they completed just 2. So it means that in terms of connecting their crosses, they were off. Now we have what we call the PPDA. That is the passes per defensive action. Passes per defensive action. And with this metric, the lower the better, or the lower the harder. Now the PPDA means that how many passes did the opponent play before you executed a defensive action? Either a press, either a tackle, either a block. So how many passes did you allow the opponent to play before you executed a defensive action to win the ball? With that, Arsenal is 11.76, approximately 12 passes before they execute a defensive action. Man City is 8.44, approximately 8. So it means that in terms of their pressing and the intensity, Man City did better than Arsenal. So as I said, with the PPDA, the lower the better, or the lower the harder. Now the high regains, how many balls were you able to win higher up the pitch? Arsenal 9, Man City 13. So it confirms it that in terms of pressing, Man City was better, than Arsenal. And then the sequential threat, 37 for Man City, 20 for Arsenal. So to me, in the game, Nathan, Man City did better. Man City was not that bad as the scoreline will tell us. To me, I think the scoreline is a little bit deceptive, because from this scoreline, a lot of people are saying, oh, the Arsenal is going to defend the Premier League title again. Oh, the Man City, they are dead. This season, they are going to struggle. But to me, I think looking at the stats in the game, comparing that to the scoreline in the game, I disagree with people who think that the scoreline is a true reflection of the game. No, the scoreline means that Arsenal outdid their SG, and to me, Man City, they were not that bad in terms of their general performance in the game. Just that they can do better.
Okay.
Now to the tactical point in the game.
Yeah.
Nathan, the attacking shape of Manchester City was very interesting. And with Enzo Maresca at Chelsea, he was using most of the time the 3-box-3 formation whenever they want to attack, which is the 3-2-2-3 formation. Now at Man City, in the friendly games that Man City played against Atletico Madrid and even in Asia, the friendly games that they played, Man City used the 3-2-5, at times the 3-1-6 formation. Now this is how they did it, and I've projected this. The 3 at the back was Kusanov as the right-sided centre-back, Ruben Diaz in the centre, and then Josko Vardiol as a left-sided centre-back. So this was a 3-man, or 3 at the back for Man City whenever they had the ball in possession. Now the sole DM was Mateo Kovacic. To me, to play a DM, a lone pivot, as Maresca did for Mateo Kovacic, you need a player who is very good in terms of progressive passes. But Kovacic is good in progressive carries, not progressive passes. So with Mateo Kovacic, he likes to move the ball into space rather than passing the ball into space. So with such a profile, I would prefer you to use such a profile as an advanced number 8, or as, to some extent, a box-to-box number 8, so that he can help you with his progressive carries. But Enzo Maresca decided to use Kovacic as the sole DM, and to me, his profile did not really complement the role given to him, because with his profile, it would have been better pushing him higher up so that he will use his progressive carries to draw a man towards himself before he releases the pass. Because if you are playing a lone pivot, the last time in the studio I said it, that to play for teams that prioritize possession or positional play, you must always be there. You should not be moving a lot. You are like a driver of the car. Always you must be there. The mate or the conductor can get down and go and look for people to join the bus. But you as the conductor, you must always be positioned on your seat. And that is the same thing playing as a DM for teams that prioritize possession or positional play. You must always be there. But looking at Mateo Kovacic, his ability is to move the ball. It means that he's not always there. He's always in motion. So with such a player, Nathan, I don't think playing him as the lone pivot was the best decision from Enzo Maresca. Now, with his, as I said, it was a 3-1-6 or a 3-1-3-3 formation. So the 3 players higher up, Nico O'Reilly, the left back, occupied the left half space. Phil Foden occupied the central zone, closer to the zone 14, just behind the number 9, Erling Haaland. And then Elliot Anderson, the new boy, occupied, the right half space. Now, this is where it gets interesting once again. Because for Elliot Anderson and his profile, he plays very well whenever he's playing alongside a DM. So, even in Nottingham Forest, he was playing alongside Ibrahima Sangare. At the World Cup for the Three Lions, he was playing alongside Declan Rice most of the time in a double pivot. So Elliot Anderson excels whenever he's playing in a double pivot. But in this case, Enzo Maresca did not play him in a double pivot. Rather, he takes him to occupy the right half space, playing Kovacic alone as a single pivot, with Semenyo holding the weight at the right side, Doku holding the weight at the left side, and then Erling Haaland, as the number 9. Now with the wingers, Nathan, if you follow the preseason of Man City, one player who was excellent for them was Antoine Semenyo. So in most of the games that Man City played, Antoine Semenyo was superb. Where did Semenyo play? What was his position? Semenyo played as the left winger, where Jeremy Doku was. But in this game, Semenyo was playing as the right winger. Now, with the wing profile of Enzo Maresca, it's a little bit different to what Pep Guardiola did last season. In fact, it is closer to what Pep Guardiola did when he has Leroy Sané and then Raheem Sterling. because Pep Guardiola or Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling under Pep Guardiola were always high and wide, hugging the touchline, always high and wide, creating a lot of 1v1 against the fullback. That is the same thing that Enzo Maresca wants to do. So the wing profile of Enzo Maresca is closer to what Pep Guardiola did some years ago with Man City, but not what he did last season. For last season, how he used Doku was Doku will start wide, but Doku can come inside. Doku can cut inside, and it's as a result of that Jeremy Doku was able to, increase his goal tally. I remember Man City against Everton, where Doku cut inside and scored 2 spectacular goals. Man City against Liverpool last season, Doku came inside and scored a killer against Georgi Mamadashvili. So Doku, how he played under Pep Guardiola last season is different from what Enzo Maresca is expecting from him this season. Maresca is expecting a winger who will play high and wide. And with that profile, at the left side, I would prefer Semenyo ahead of Doku, unless Doku changes his profile. To me, I think Doku has that in him. He can change it.
Okay.
But as I said, it's just match 1. Community Shield. So it will be very difficult for the wingers and their profiling to get what the manager wants and then for them to be able to do that. So to me, in terms of profiling, Enzo Maresca got it wrong. The profiling of his players, to me, he got it wrong. And come to think of this, Erling Haaland played 0 minutes in the preseason, but he started the game. So I wasn't surprised that he was subbed off. I wasn't surprised that Doku was also subbed off for Jack Grealish. Why? Because in terms of hugging the touchline, that Jack Grealish does it better than Jeremy Doku. Doku now has the ability to come inside more and affect the game, and it's one of the things that he must try to learn if he wants to be successful against under Enzo Maresca. Again, Nathan, in the game, Man City had a problem. Although in terms of pressing they were better, but in terms of structure, the structure with which they were using to press, Man City had a lot of problems with respect to, the structure they were using to press. Now, this is an example of it. Without the ball, Man City wanted to press with a 4-2-4 shape. And we saw that even in their preseason games. So a front 4, a midfield 2, and then the back 4. But looking at this, with their front 2-4, Nathan, I would want to highlight this. Erling Haaland was always late to close down Christian Mosquera and then press Mosquera. So with this, it means that Mosquera will have space and time with this ball. Now, if you are Jeremy Doku, you must take care of Ben White. But since Mosquera is free, as we can see on our screen, Jeremy Doku decided to jump on Mosquera. And once you jump, it means that the fullback that you are marking in Ben White will now be the free man. So Bruno Guimaraes will just need a link pass to be able to find the free man and then bypass the entire press of Manchester City. So to me, it was one of the weaknesses in terms of the structure Man City were using to press. As I've highlighted here, we've seen Jeremy Doku jumping to press Christian Mosquera, and that have left Ben White free as the free man. So the ball must come inside to Bruno Guimaraes, just one pass as the length pass, and then the ball gets to the free man in Ben White, who can eventually, evade the pressing structure or the pressure from Man City. So to me, Nathan, I think the press from Man City was not the best in the game. I think the structure, there were problems with the structure, and I wasn't surprised that after the game, Enzo Maresca said this game has taught him a lot of things and that he's going to work on the structure of the team. Specifically, he mentioned that word structure. And to me, that was where my interest was. To me, I think that the structure was a little bit problematic for Man City, especially their out of possession structure without the ball. I think they must work on that. Now, to conclude, let's look at the goal that Man City considered the first goal. Because to me, there were a lot of things that they got it wrong, in the build-up to that first goal. Now, this is the image of it. Man City, that was 20 seconds in the game.
Yeah.
Just 20 seconds in the game. And to me, it's the fastest goal. I think it's the fastest goal in this picture. a face-up between Man City and then Arsenal. The fastest goal, 25 seconds. Now, Nathan, looking at the build-up to this goal, we can clearly see the back four of Man City. Kusanov as the right back, Josko Vardiol, Ruben Diaz as the centre backs, and then Nico O'Reilly as the left back. So the back four was intact. But looking at this defensive line, we can see a bigger space between the right back and then the right-sided centre back. So between Kusanov and then Ruben Diaz, there was a big space. Now let's look at the other side. Between Josko Vardiol and then Nico O'Reilly, there was another big space. So it means that the presence of the number 9, Kai Havertz, has made the centre backs of Man City close, leaving space in the half spaces, leaving space in between the centre backs and then the full backs. So all Arsenal had to do was to occupy that particular area. Now, there is one Man City player here that I have highlighted, and that is Elliot Anderson. Looking at Elliot Anderson, he was caught ball watching. He was watching the ball because he thought that Foden was giving pressure to MLS, Miles Lewis Kelly. So he was watching that action. But he forgot that the space was behind him. The most dangerous thing in football, all the time I say it, the player without the ball is as dangerous as the player with the ball. Because at least the player with the ball, you've seen him. But the player without the ball, you've not seen him. So if his movement is very good and intelligent, he's going to punish you. And looking at this too, I think Kusanov was caught in between, closing down this space and then staying wider enough to be able to close Solis whenever Arsenal give the ball to Solis. Because Nathan, looking at this, I think the clearest pathway with this ball is for Lewis Kelly to give a wide pass away to Solis.
Yeah.
So Kusanov was also looking at that particular sequence, but forgetting about the fact that there was a space in between, and that space was occupied by a left back. That is what makes it very interesting. Nathan, it wasn't occupied by an attacking midfielder, no. It wasn't occupied by a central midfielder or even a winger. It was occupied by a left back. Now, who is supposed to follow the left back? It is the right winger. You must follow the left back. Where is the right winger? This is the right winger, Antoine Semenyo. So clearly, Semenyo was in no man's land. Because in this instance, Semenyo can decide to follow the winger, Zolis, so that Kusanov will close down this space and then follow the left back. Or Semenyo must follow his man, which is the left back, for Kusanov to be able to keep an eye on Zolis. All of these things did not happen from the side of Manchester City, opening up this space. An excellent curved run from Calafiori, who eventually was able to put this ball at the back of the net. So, to me, it was a very good pass from Lewis Kelly. It was an excellent disguised curved run from Calafiori, and it was something that with Donnarumma, most often than not, he was diving early. Most often than not, he was diving early. And Nathan, there's an explanation for that. And to be honest with you, the analyst of Arsenal has, gained my utmost respect.
Okay, why is that?
He analyzed Donnarumma. He saw that most of the time for tall goalkeepers, whenever you are putting the ball on the ground, on the grass, on the turf, they dive early. Nathan, do you know why?
Why?
They have, they have a high center of gravity. So if the ball is very low, they must dive early so that they will get to the ball. If they dive late, although they will go to the same direction, but the ball will get to the net before they get to the ground. So most of the time, for tall goalkeepers, they dive early. So look at Peter Cech, he dives early. Look at Courtois, he dives early. Look at Donnarumma, he dives early. So he just gave an instruction to the Arsenal players. The goalkeeper says he's a tall goalkeeper. Most of the time they dive early. So he's definitely going to dive early. So just delay. Whenever you get closer to him, just delay. He will dive early and it will be an easy goal for you. Calafiori delayed. Donnarumma dived before he just passed the ball to the net. And then Martin Odegaard delayed. once again, Donnarumma dived early before eventually he also passed the ball to the net. So to me, it was a good observation from the analyst of Arsenal to give that tactical info to his players, and then good execution from the players to be able to follow it and then get the goals. Trust me, 3-0 against the team who took the Community Shield from you, against the team, from the Carabao Cup from you, against the team who played second, against the team who has been a key competitor. If you are able to beat him by 3-0, trust me, that is a huge achievement. That is a morale booster. So it's a very good win for Arsenal. Very, very, very good win. Now they have all the confidence and then the morale in this world. But as I said before the analysis, if there's one trophy that to me is very deceptive to win in football, it is the Community Shield. Because most of the time, the teams that win the Community Shield, they are not able to win the Premier League. It has happened just 8 out of 34 times that the team who won the Community Shield was able to win the Premier League. And out of these 8 times, only 3 teams has been able to do that. Man City, Manchester United, and then Chelsea. So, yes, it is possible to win the Community Shield and the Premier League. It is possible. But it is very, very difficult. The probability is just 24%. And to me, 24%, it means that about 76% of the time, teams who won the Community Shield, they were unable to win the Premier League. And that is a daunting stat. That is something that Arsenal must look forward to beat this record as far as this season is concerned, Nathan.
Quite interesting thoughts there. Arsenal winning 3-0, Community Shield in the bag. And we wait to see how the season will play out. Just finally, Coach, you mentioned Enzo Maresca. He said he was going to have a look at the structure. If there are things to solve ahead of the coming season, what specific things should he solve? And 2, what should Man City fans expect? Pep is no longer there. He's gone. They are going in a new direction. So what should they expect in the coming season? Will there be differences to the things they've seen under Pep now that Maresca is in charge?
Now, Nathan, I think if there's one manager who is, to me, you cannot replace him, it is Pep Guardiola. Man City fans should not expect the same Man City that we knew. And later, let me say this on the show. I'm a stand fan of Manchester City. I'm a fan, big one of Man City. In fact, I'm a full-time supporter. And I've supported Man City since 2010. My role model, Mario Balotelli, took me to Man City. I'm from there. You know, when I was younger, I was a striker, and my nickname was Mario.
Okay,
Balotelli.
I see.
Yes. So when he moved to Man City, especially when he scored that goal, why always me? I even printed that jersey before. Why always me? So, but because of Balotelli, I've been always, following Man City, and then I'm a fan of Man City. But to be honest with you, although Man City as a club are very good at replacing their legends, they are very good at doing that. But to me, replacing them at once will be difficult. Yes, Man City was able to replace Aguero with Erling Haaland. Man City was able to replace Yaya Toure with Kevin De Bruyne. Man City was able to replace David Silva with Bernardo Silva. Man City was able to replace Joe Hart with Ederson Moraes. Man City was able to replace Vincent Kompany with Aymeric Laporte, with Ruben Dias, with even Josko Vardiol. So for Man City, they were able to replace Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling with other different profiles. So if there's one thing that they know how to do, it's replacing their legends. Man City was able to replace Tiki Bergistan with Hugo Viana. So for Man City, replacing top legends or players who have given their all for the club is no news. They are able to do it effortlessly. But replacing all of them at once, trust me, it will be a daunting task. So to the citizens, they should not expect to get that smooth ride that at a point they got under Pep Guardiola. And Nathan, we should not forget one thing. People have forgotten that Man City has not won the Premier League in 2 years. People have forgotten. In the last 2 years, Man City have not been able to win the Premier League. 2 years ago, and has not won it for Liverpool. Last season, Arteta won it for Arsenal. So in the last 2 years, Man City has not been able to win the Premier League. So this team must not be given any pressure. Now, in terms of transfers, Rodri has already left. Savinho is likely to leave to Tottenham. You must replace Rodri. You must replace Savinho. Now for Rodri, Ayub Boadi's deal is in the final stages. Fine, to some extent, Enzo Fernandez. But trust me, Enzo Fernandez, Ayub Boadi cannot replace Rodri in one season. It's not possible. For Savinho, I think at the right side, Man City needs a left winger, a left footer who will be ahead of Ryan McAdoo in the pecking order. Because the manager said that this season he's going to trust Ryan McAdoo. We all know his ability. He's very good. But trust me, if the only pressure for Antoine Semenyo at the right side is Ryan McAdoo, it means that Semenyo can even relax. Because if Savinho leaves for Spurs, Man City needs a left footer who will be at the right wing. Now, we lost Yan Diomande to Real Madrid, and it means that we need a player who will be ahead of Ryan McAdoo, who can also compete against Antoine Semenyo. Again, Man City has lost John Stones. Man City has lost Bernardo Silva. For Bernardo Silva, they want to accommodate for his absence with Elliot Anderson. Different profile, but in terms of physicality, Anderson will give that to you. Now, look at someone like John Stones. Man City has Victor Reis. To me, Victor Reis is a similar profile to John Stones. And last season, for us, the followers of La Liga, we enjoyed Victor Reis a lot. But can he do what John Stones did for Man City, especially in the treble-winning season? No. Because it will also be the first full season for Victor Reis if he is to stay with this particular setup. So to me, Man City must be patient with that. Again, with the number 6 row, if you are losing Rodri, to me, between Nico Gonzalez and then Mateo Kovacic, Nathan, I would always go for Nico Gonzalez. Why? Because one, Nico is able to stay. Kovacic does not stay. He likes to progress the ball with progressive carries. Nico likes to progress the ball with progressive passing, and it is different. So I would prefer Nico Gonzalez as the 6 ahead of Mateo Kovacic, so that at least you can push Kovacic higher up the field. Again, structurally, with the 3-1-3-3 in possession structure of Man City, I think that one too must change. Because for Enzo Maresca, I think at Chelsea he said it, that whenever teams are defending in a back 5, he wants to attack in a front 6. But yesterday in the game, Arsenal did not defend in a back 5. So why overcommitting to play in a front 6? Yes, I agree that Man City considered very early in the game. So from minute 1, Man City were chasing a result in the game. It accounted for the reason why they decided to attack with a front 6. But to me, doing that also left a lot of gaps at the back. Especially, you don't have Rodri screening your back 3. It is Mateo Kovacic. The ability of Rodri to screen the back 3, Kovacic cannot do the same. So if it was Rodri and you decided to play with a 3-1-3-3 in possession structure, I would have been okay because he can do those defensive works. But Kovacic cannot do that. And to me, structurally, Enzo Maresca must work on that. And again, out of possession, if Man City are going to go with the 4-2-4 mid-block out of possession, then it means that Maresca must fine-tune what we call the block to press. The block to press. Because you see, in football, Nathan, you don't just block for blocking's sake. You block and wait for the pressing triggers so that you can jump and go full man-to-man and press. And I think that block to press structure, the team is not very clear with that. As I said, Erling Haaland had 0 minutes in the preseason. So from the block to press, Haaland got most of them wrong. It accounts for the reason he was taken off very, very early in the game. Jeremy Doku, block to press, he got most of them wrong. The only 2 players that, to me, they did it right was Phil Foden and then Antoine Semenyo. But you need all 4 front players to be able to do it very well. Even if one of them gets it wrong, the entire pressing is going to be breaking down. So I think structurally, Enzo Maresca has a lot to do. He's a good manager. He needs time, and I think with time he can do the work.
Interesting points. We wait to see how the season will play out. Coach, thank you. It was nice catching up with you. I'm sure we'll speak soon, and we'll be speaking a lot, especially as the European football seasons are beginning to return.
Definitely. We are going to speak a lot. And yesterday, La Liga also started.
Yes.
What a game. Racing Santander, 14 years away. El Sardinero, they played at home. They scored the first 2 goals, but Inigo Perez's Villarreal was able to, equalize. And the interesting thing is that for Racing Santander, they were away from the La Liga for 14 years. They went through a lot to the extent that, Nathan, their owner was on the Interpol red list, wanted.
Wow.
Their minority owner, in fact, they had a majority shareholder minority. So the majority was on the Interpol red list. The minority was on the Interpol red list. So both of their owners, were having difficulties in financing the club. So the club was always going down in terms of the pecking order in Spanish football. It took local businessmen to come together and say, no, Racing Club de Santander is part of the founding members of the La Liga. So we cannot look for such a big club to go down. So the local businessmen came together, revived interest in the club, and now El Sardinero is back. The club is back, in the La Liga. They scored the first 2 goals, but Villarreal was able to equalize as early as the first half. And you see, for Villarreal too, they have a new manager in Inigo Perez. Last season, it was Marcelino Garcia Tora. Now, Inigo Perez has jumped from Rayo Vallecano to Villarreal, and that is a step higher. For Inigo Perez, he is a coach. You see, at Rayo Vallecano, he was the assistant to now Liverpool's manager. He was his assistant to Andoni Iraola. When they were moving to Bournemouth, he was the assistant in their structure. He was the assistant to Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth. But unfortunately, his work permit delayed, and Rayo Vallecano called him and said, leave Andoni Iraola. Let him go to Bournemouth. We want to give you the job on a permanent basis. We want to make you the head coach. So don't follow him and become an assistant coach. He stayed at Rayo Vallecano. He was able to qualify the club to Europe. They played in the Conference League. They went all the way, semi-finals, played in the finals. And after last season, he made that big leap to Villarreal. So a lot of people were looking at how Inigo Perez will also play. Because in Spain, he's part of the young tactical brains in football in Spain. And the last time I said it on the show that he was the first manager to be able to devise a new way to beat the offside trap that Hansi Flick was beating most of the Spanish coaches with in Spain. So there's a lot of eyes on Inigo Perez. A lot of clubs are monitoring him. His ceiling is high. So he also couldn't afford that in his first La Liga game for Villarreal, he will be losing to a returnee in Racing Santander. So to me, it was a fair result. Racing 2 and then Villarreal 2. Very, very fair results. But what can we say about Getafe? But Dallas, Mr. Football, we all know. In Spain, they call him anti-football. Because whenever Getafe is playing, you can be rest assured that they are going to play buga-buga. They are going to play negative football. So I wasn't surprised when I saw that they got a red card. In 2026, Getafe still plays with Jenny Dakonam as the leader at their back. So clearly, for Getafe, the least said about them, the better. So, but that last Mr. Football, aka anti-football, as they call him in Spain, he was one-locked, 3-0. And to me, he must set up. Last season, he was able to keep the team in the La Liga. And I think that this season, Getafe has a lot of things to do if they indeed want to survive in the Spanish La Liga, Nathan.
Yeah. Interesting start to La Liga. The big boys will play next weekend. We'll see more of them in there, and then we'll see how the rest of the league plays out. Coach, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Nathan. You are welcome.
Wonderful. That was Coach Kwabena Danso joining us on the line. We'll be now that the leagues the leagues are beginning again. We'll be seeing and hearing more of Coach Kwabena Danso. Michael Asaribwedu is also on the line. I can see him on my screens. Michael, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Nathan. I'm good. How about you?
Yes. We are fine. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you have any comments to make. Community Shield, La Liga, and then we can talk about the WAFCON.
Well, so it owes to the Community Shield and Arsenal's victory. I think it was impressive, and it indicated some few things. Maybe I would have to go through them. The first one is a slight power shift in terms of Manchester City and then the departures and eventually the result and how it plays out. I think the first one would be the shift from the era of the Guardiola dominance. I think if it was there was any opportunity to lay down the marker that City are now neutral and no longer seen as the team everyone has to beat, then it would be about the game they played against Arsenal and how they turned out. And it gives Arsenal some kind of advantage over Manchester City in the sense that psychologically, if you are to look at the last 9 games since 2023, 2024, Arsenal have beaten City more times. So though it's slightly, there is an edge. Arsenal 3, Manchester City 2, and the rest being draws. But it is very important to note this because when City were dominating, Arsenal were no tougher opponent for them to face. Now the pendulum is gradually shifting from City now having to beat Arsenal to prove a point, and not Arsenal who rather need to beat City to prove a point, judging by them winning the league last season and then also with a win against them in the Community Shield. I think it is very, very important to underline this fact, coupled with the departures from the Manchester City team. Pep Guardiola leaves, very similar to the environment around Manchester United when Sir Alex Ferguson left. And I dare say that Ferguson appointing David Moyes contextually looks like a better decision made in Pep appointing Enzo Maresca. And I say this because Moyes by then had like a good experience in the Premier League. He had been manager of Everton, has steered them. So in terms of Premier League experience, he had it more. If you compare that to Enzo Maresca, it is a different picture altogether. Pep Guardiola had dominated the Premier League. He had built a solid team that he won consistently with them. And then for Maresca, he was just a manager that Chelsea gave an opportunity. So relatively in terms of experience, if you compare him to David Moyes at a point in time he took charge of the Manchester United team, then you say that Moyes was more experienced. But again, the task, the target, everything that was expected of him became a challenge. Then with Maresca, the question will always be, will he be able to measure up to the standards set by Pep Guardiola? And I think it is an important thing to note here. Can he do that? Because I think what Pep did with City is excellent at best. He did extremely well, took them to levels they never expected to get to. And those sides are very difficult to replicate. They are very, very difficult to replicate. And everything Maresca does will be measured or compared to what Pep did. And I think that is what will not really help him. If Maresca won't succeed at City, it will not be because he's not a good coach, but I think it will be because everything that he does, which are very positive, will always be compared to how Pep did it and how it measures in the context of Enzo Maresca. So I think that is the difficulty he needs to overcome. It is a very important barrier that he needs to scale. And yesterday's performance and the results will not do him a lot of good. I think it shifts the pendulum to Arsenal psychologically, gives them an advantage, and then it helps them to overcome everything that City has done right and then did against them in the upcoming campaign. That aside, coach spoke about profiling and how certain players in the Manchester City team were not used in terms of their profiles and in the roles where they could excel. He mentioned Semenyo, he mentioned Doku. I think on the contrary, Arsenal had Mikel Arteta using new signing Christophe Jolis as a left winger who gives them a certain feel that Arsenal have a strength in depth. And that quality in depth is actually something that will carry them along in this season, in almost every competition that they try to win. The Premier League, the domestic cup competitions, and then the Champions League. And why do I say this? I think that oftentimes when teams start to dominate, there is an identifiable starting 11 that you know that, okay, so these are players you expect the team to play on a normal day. I think what Arteta is doing is that he's gradually shifting from that narrative. In yesterday's game, Bukayo Saka started off the bench. It was Noni Madueke. He did a good job, relatively. Christoph Ziolis played as a left winger, and it was his first competitive start for Arsenal since he joined. Again, he gave 2 assists on his full Arsenal debut, his first competitive game. He was effective with and without the ball. And when a player is able to demonstrate such qualities, it clearly reads one thing. The player is clearly in sync with how the manager expects him to play, and is giving the team quality in possession and out of possession. Yesterday's game did not see William Saliba. It was Christian Mosquera, and he did a solid job. The best example to give is that they kept this Manchester City team at bay. So regardless of the number of shots on target that City had, they were only able to generate an XG of 0.77%. Yes, credits to David Raya. He was the best goalkeeper in the league last season, and arguably the best goalkeeper in Europe last season. There was still Gabriel Magalhaes. But then again, without Saliba, you expect there to be a drop in quality from the Arsenal team. But no, Mosquera slots in, is able to complement the defensive structure, and Arsenal do a solid job at keeping Manchester City at bay. Particularly a player like Erling Haaland. I don't think he really had a good time. Maybe you can make an excuse for him that it was his first start since the World Cup, and he's barely trained and he's barely played for Manchester City during the preseason. But I think it also owes to how solid Arsenal defended and how they were able to neutralize the threat of Manchester City attacking-wise. Again, Arsenal did not start with Declan Rice. And Miles Lewis-Skelly, who is building a profile as a player that Arteta can hugely rely on. It is a carry-off from last season, how it ended. In the closing stages of the last campaign, Lewis-Skelly was getting more minutes at the detriment of players like Martin Zubimendi. Now, he starts in this game, he bosses the game very well, plays an important part in the first goal that Arsenal scored, and then overall, I think he had a very, very good game. It is the ability of players like Bruno Guimaraes, Miles Lewis-Skelly, to rest on the Arsenal defense play that gave someone like Martin Odegaard the freedom to stay high, receive the ball, collaborate with the other Arsenal players, and then work out openings within the Manchester City team. And Arsenal did this without, let's say, 2 of their sure midfield starters from last season. Last season, if you are looking out for minutes and then consistency in terms of gameplay, then you would look at Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi. Now, these 2 who established that double pivot are out. And then Arteta starts Guimaraes, who's a new player, his first competitive game. Then he plays Miles Lewis-Skelly there, and then he plants Odegaard ahead of them. And they are still able to play and become very effective. Yes, they did not boss possession. Man City had the bigger share of the possession. But the point is that Arsenal played an efficient game, and especially from the middle, in and out of possession, they were able to really affect Manchester City's structure from the middle and then in defense as well. And there was no Rice, there was no Zubimendi, there was no Mikel Merino. Again, it portrays one thing: Arsenal's quality in depth and the ability of Arteta to just plug in any player and still get the performance he requires from him. And that is very important going into the upcoming campaign. Arsenal will want to defend their title, and if they will defend it, it will not be because they have the best 11. It will be because they have the best squad. And these are the demonstrations that you see. Right back, there was no Timber. There was Benjamin White. He did a solid job. Left back, Calafiori started. He scored the first goal, made a lot of attacking incursions, and then Hincapie came on to replace him. So I think Arsenal's trump card in the upcoming campaign will be the squad that they have and the understanding of the manager of the kind of profiles that he has in his possession, and now he's able to use them efficiently. It will be very, very important. And so these are some of the positives I saw in the Arsenal team. There are a lot more, but for Manchester City, I don't think it is time for people to signal the alarm bells yet. I know for the Chelsea fans, they are excited because the one who betrayed them, the Judas Iscariot in their team, has had a difficult start at Manchester City. But I think that eventually Maresca will learn and then he will overcome whatever challenges that he encountered. My only problem is that the more the results don't come, the less faith and confidence the players will have in him. These are players who have played under Pep. They literally won everything there was to win. And so if Maresca's methods don't start yielding the results and then the performance they expect very soon, then you find some few disgruntled players in the dressing room. And it will not be surprising that if City go this season without winning anything, players like Erling Haaland will be thinking twice about their long-term future. And it will be dangerous to keep them if it is still going to be Maresca. So I think he left Chelsea, which was a relatively easier job, to take a harder one. And this job is something that he would need to really do well, especially from the start. If he fails, trust me, City will be in very, very deep trouble, and it will be difficult for them to come out of it. But let's see what happens. I think it was a good game, and it was a great curtain raiser for the upcoming campaign. For the other leagues, maybe when the big teams start, then there'll be much more talking points around it. But I was particularly pleased with two African players in the Bay Area team, Nicolas Pepe and then Pape Gueye. I think for Pape Gueye, this will be a very great season for him. Last season, he was solid. He did a very, very good job. One of the top performing African players in the Spanish Premier Liga. And what did he do? Yes, he gave them numbers in terms of goals and assists, but they were not high numbers in terms of what you expect from your attackers. But for a midfield player to give you 6 goals, for him to give you like 3 assists, I think that is positive. But it is his ability to impose himself in the BRL midfield and then dominate against any opponent that he comes face to face with. 1, he has a physically imposing presence. 2, his technical ability allows him to read the game well. And I think it allows BRL to really settle and play their game. So I am tipping great things for Pape Gueye this campaign. I think that if he is able to maintain the standards of last season or even do better, it won't be long before we start hearing him being linked to some of the top teams in the Premier League, or let's say even in the Spanish La Liga. I think he's a competent player. And if Atletico Madrid perhaps are looking for midfield reinforcement, they could actually look to him to slot into their setup to improve their gameplay. I think he's a very, very important player. Nicolas Pepe had an excellent campaign last season. At the World Cup, it was much more of a mixed performance. There were games where he did well. There were games where you did not really see the quality that he brought to bear. But I think in the La Liga and then in the BRL team, he's already asserted himself as one of their main attackers. And yesterday, he started on a very positive note. So these are the African players I expected to do some wonderful things. And I think they've started the season very well. So that would be the very few things I can say about the La Liga.
Interesting start. As I said earlier, the big boys will be in action soon. I think in the next few days, Barcelona and Real Madrid will get to play their opening matches in the 2026-27 La Liga season. Your comments are welcome. 054-257-1061, 054-257-1061. Let's not forget that after the Sporty breakfast, Angela Mensah and her crew will be here for Total English Football. So many interesting things to talk about. Community Shield, some transfers. Aston Villa are in the transfer market. I think they are bringing in a new goalkeeper, Zion Suzuki. And Emi Martinez was on his way to Juventus. That move has not happened. And so, there's that as well, which is outstanding. And then Guglielmo Vicario, who's Spurs goalkeeper, is going to Juventus on loan. He's going to Juventus on loan. So that's the lowdown. Let me go through some of your messages that have come in. We'll switch tracks quickly and talk about the WAFCON in a bit. Cameroon are the latest winners of the women's AFCON. They beat Malawi 3-0 last night in the final. So Cameroon, originally not part of the competition, but they made it through to the very end and won their very first AFCON. They had lost, I think, 3 finals prior, but yeah, they've managed to cross the line now, and they've won. Malawi came second. Algeria finished third, and I watched that game over the weekend. Algeria conceded, early, but managed to hold on. They came back into the game, and in the end, they won via a penalty shootout. Morocco not doing well with the penalty shootout at all. I don't know what it was or what was happening, but Morocco were really, really, really underwhelming in terms of the penalty shootout. And they lost the 2 they played in, one in the semis against Cameroon, the other in the 3rd and 4th place playoff against Algeria. But let's go through some of your comments. 054-257-1061, 054-257-1061, and then we'll be getting into some AFCON chit-chat, and then we'll proceed from there. This one says, this one says, the statistics given is good raw data, which has challenges when analyzed the way your colleague did. We have not had foreign coaches in every season. Rather, consider the reasons foreign coaches have been around and look for their performance in those seasons. So say we have had foreign coaches participate in the league 20 times. What is their success rate? Okay, so that's Koduntu from Accra sending that. All right, cool. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Well, we haven't actually, sat down to pore over the numbers. I guess the person is just doing a compendium of things that have happened in the Ghana Premier League. But hey, I think that's a very interesting perspective you are bringing in. So maybe we'll sit down, do some deeper analysis. Nathan Nkaswa says, it's just one game, but Arsenal look like a team that's ready to defend the title. Okay. Maresca will learn a lot because he had his profiling and tactics off on the day. I didn't understand why Kovacic was the one in the DM role while Anderson was moving all over the pitch. Vardio looked like he had forgotten how to play like a centre-back. Man, the City team now needs a controller in the middle with Rodri gone. They made Haaland look like Delap yesterday. Donnarumma had a game to forget. I think with time, Maresca will get this team because he's a manager who knows how to adjust. But yesterday, he had the head shape of Pep, but the tactics were more of Arne Slot and Ten Hag. Interesting. Well, I think that over time, Maresca will understand this thing. I always say that managers try all kinds of interesting things when they play some of these games. I guess they all have ideas, right? They all have interesting ideas, and they want to try out those ideas in games. Training sessions never provide great ways of testing your ideas. You want to test them in a game situation, especially a game where there's not much riding on it. It's not like a cup final or a Champions League semi-final or a league game that is very crucial. You want to try them in pre-season. Games like the Community Shield and things, where if you lose, the result is not fatal. But you would have walked away armed with vital knowledge as to why this plan is a good idea or why this plan is not a good idea, why it worked halfway, why it didn't work all the way, and why, when and where you should attempt to repeat such a tactic, So I think that for Enzo Maresca, I'm sure he'll wake up this morning, or even yesterday, he did say that, look, he'll work on the structure. I'm sure as the game went on, he wrote down a few things to say that, okay, this is something I should not try again. Or even if I try it again, I'll have to modify the style because the opposition is different or the circumstances are different. So yeah, that's why some people say that do not get so worked up over preseason games because they are experimental. Managers are using it to attempt all kinds of theories. Players are coming back maybe from long breaks. In some cases, as we've seen this year after the World Cup, right? Players are not up to speed. Up to speed. So some people take it easy when it comes to preseason games. They don't fuss too much. Some people say you should fuss because the signs are there and you should be very, very, very worried. But some people say, look, there's no need to get, too upset. That's why it's preseason. The result is not fatal. Once you see the problem, you can work on that. Anyway, time check is 9:15. Let's switch tracks. Let's talk about the WAFCON. Yesterday, Cameroon won their very, very, very first WAFCON title after asking 2 or 3 times in the past. They got to the finals. It didn't work. But this year, it all came together. It all came together for Cameroon and the indomitable Lionesses. Let me go back to the line. We've been joined by our colleague from Cameroon, Aka Ayamba Intui. He's a colleague sports journalist. And we'll get some great insight as to how Cameroon did or how they did win the AFCON. And, we'll get to learn 1 or 2 things concerning this Cameroon team, the indomitable Lionesses. Aka, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome once again to the Sporty Breakfast in Accra. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning, Etiseye.
Bibiaboko, Aka, Bibiaboko. Thank you for asking.
That's what I learned when I was in Accra, in Ghana.
I see. Quite interesting. Aka, congrats to Cameroon. Cameroon have won their first WAFCON. First of all, how are people in Cameroon reacting to this wonderful story? Cameroon were not part of the original teams. CAF expanded. They got themselves a ticket, and now they are the 2026 WAFCON winners.
I'll tell you, if someone predicted to us as Cameroonian that we are going to win this AFCON, I'll tell you no. We didn't expect to win this AFCON. And if you look at the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, they mostly deliver when their backs are on the wall, when people least expect them to win. Take, for example, in 2017 in the Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon, Cameroon were not even among the favorites to win the Africa Cup of Nations, but they went out there, surprised everybody and won it. And also this time around, we didn't even qualify. And because of that fact that we didn't even qualify for the last 2 AFCONs, the coach by then was Jean-Baptiste Bissek, and he was fired. And because of our non-qualification. But it happened that because of the expanded version of the WAFCON, CAF decided to bring in Cameroon, and that is how the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o, decided to make some managerial changes. And then Valentine Gele, the Iron Lady, who was the coach of FC Ebolova in the Guinness Women's Super League in Cameroon, and also the winner of the Guinness Women's Super League in Cameroon, she was being appointed as the coach of the Indomitable Lionesses.
Okay, quite interesting. So Samuel Eto'o decided to make some changes, and now Cameroon have won. Now, Aka, as you watched the team throughout the competition, from game 1 to the final, did you get the sense that they could go all the way to win the title? Did you get that feeling as you watched the team go through the various matches of the competition?
From the first round, the game against Mali, there was some atom of doubt in one way or the other. We narrowly won against Mali, but we shouldn't have underrated the Malian side. They were also a good side. Then the 1-0 victory against Ghana, it was not really convincing at all. Despite that, it was a hard-fought victory, but the Ghanaians were really, really on top. Just thanks to God that we had a superb and fantastic goalkeeper in the name of Michele Biina, who kept us in that game. And then against Cape Verde, Biina was out, and the second choice goalkeeper, the team was rotated. And then we drew 1-1 against Cape Verde. That doubt was still there. But the fact that we're drawn against Nigeria, the Super Falcons of Nigeria, it was a nightmare. Myself, I thought it all that. Why didn't we come out second? Why didn't we come out in the place of Ghana? And Ghana should have replaced us as first to play the Super Falcons of Nigeria. But so be it. History was there. Another story was there to be written. The way our nightmare, what the Frenchman calls la bête noire.
Mm-hmm.
The Super Falcons of Nigeria, I knew were already out. But the girls were so determined that this time around they are going to they are going to write their own names in history books. So they went out there, defeated Nigeria. It is when they defeated Nigeria, then we started saying that these girls can do something. But there was another very, very big hurdle in front. That is Morocco. Morocco that are the host nation. So the pathway for these indomitable Lionesses, it was very, very doubtable. Something that we had a lot of doubt because the pathway was so rugged. Morocco, look at the penalty at the 117th minute of play that was given to Morocco, a foul that was most people would that were put judged to be very, very unfair, but they were given a penalty, and it has been happening like that with Morocco. Even against Algeria, they had that same kind of penalty in the third place playoff, and they lost. And thank God the goalkeeper, Biina, still stood up and then had to stop that penalty and took us to extra time. But immediately when Biina stopped that penalty, I knew if they go to extra time, Morocco will be knocked out. And because we had confidence in that goalkeeper, she came in like a surprise to so many Cameroonians. And then once we beat Morocco, we knew that Malawi are beatable.
I see. Let's stay with the goalkeeper, Biina. She was really impressive. Really impressive. Very brave goalkeeper. For those who do not, I mean, for us in Ghana, we won't know much about her, but can you just share a bit of her story? Where did she come from and how did she become Cameroon #1?
Yes, Biina was not even among the top goalkeepers in Cameroon. We had Ange Baou, who was the first choice goalkeeper throughout the qualifiers and all things like that. But Biina, she started her career with Canon of Yaoundé. Ladies, most of you guys in Ghana know about Canon of Yaoundé.
Yes, Canon Sport, yes.
In Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yes, Canon, not Cotton Sport.
Not Cotton Sport, Canon of Yaoundé, okay.
Yes. All right. Canon of Yaoundé. That's the biggest club that has existed in Cameroon.
Oh, I see.
The likes of Dr. Abega Chofil, Thomas Kono, all of them, Kunde Emmanuel, they came from Canon of Yaoundé. Okay. So Canon has a female team that is playing the Guinness Women's Super League. So she came from Canon of Yaoundé. Canon of Yaoundé, then she moved to another female team that is playing the Guinness Super League, female Super League. That is a team owned by Andre Onana. I see. Clear football field. Yes. Okay. So at times, even during off seasons, during holiday periods, when Onana is in Cameroon, Onana used to have personal training with Biina because she played for her club before. From Andre Onana's club, she left for Benfica Lisbon, and at Benfica Lisbon, she became the #1 choice goalkeeper. And she was, at one point in time, she was even convinced to take a Portuguese nationality. She was at the point of taking a Portuguese nationality, but thanks be to God, she was convinced by Samuel Eto'o. I don't know what agents had to watch her performance. And then Eto'o was told that we had a very, very good goalkeeper with Benfica that has left Cameroon. And then is about to take a Portuguese nationality. That is how Biina was convinced to come back to Cameroon, and they immediately came back from their friendly games. We played just one friendly game against Benin at the military stadium in Yaoundé, and then Biina was fantastic. And then the coach made her choice that this time around, we have been using the other goalkeepers, or Cameroon has been using the likes of Ange Baou, but they have not been delivering. With the talent of this young lady, I think she should be #1, and the coach made that choice.
Quite interesting. So now that Cameroon have won the WAFCON for the very first time, what next? Are there what's the team getting? Has there been any announcement on the reward they are getting? Is the state giving them anything? And then second question, what does this mean for Cameroonian football? All of a sudden, Cameroon not part of the competition, they've won the first AFCON. What's the way forward for Cameroonian women's football after this?
The celebration was enormous. If you look at when Cameroon was really backward in female football, Cameroon never had a female championship.
Okay.
By that time, Nigeria were dominating, Ghana were dominating because they had female championship. There was no female championship in Cameroon, but let's say 10 years now, Cameroon has got a female championship and showed when they qualified for the 2016 World Cup in Canada, female World Cup in Canada, that they went right up to the level of the quarterfinals. So it paved the way opened the way for female football in Cameroon, and that gave the birth of the the Guinness Women's Super League in Cameroon. But talking about the performance of these ladies, the bonuses, the government did an enormous job because the head of state, President Paul Biya, dispatched a high-level delegation that was led by the Prime Minister and head of government of Cameroon a day before the final. That delegation comprised of the Prime Minister, the Minister of Youth and Sports, the Minister of Women's Empowerment, who also was there in that delegation, and also the FA President, Samuel Eto'o was in that government delegation to Rabat to talk to the girls, and they paid those girls their bonuses in cash, not by bank transfer. I tell you, in cash.
In cash.
Yes, and the amount was 30 million francs bonus per player, and an extra 5 million francs coming per player coming from the head of state himself. So they went. They had about 35 million francs each per player. That's close to $70,000 per player before that finals.
Wow.
That was personally handed to them by the Prime Minister of Cameroon and the head of government, Chief Dr. John Guti.
Okay. Wow. That sounds like something really exciting. All that money, $70,000 in cash before the final.
Yes.
There's no motivation bigger than that. Aka, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with us. It's fun. It was fun having you around. Cameroon are enjoying themselves. Aka, is there a holiday now that they've won the WAFCON? Is there a holiday today?
Yes. No. There is no holiday. But yesterday it was partying everywhere. Was to the villages, to the towns, and Cameroon is a country that we are facing some crisis, the Anglophone crisis. But yesterday, you never knew whether there was an Anglophone crisis. Everybody from the opposite sides, from the English-speaking part of Cameroon, from the French-speaking part of Cameroon, everybody was celebrating when Cameroon was winning, and it brought that unity that among Cameroonians, everybody will embrace the brother or the sisters, and that is the power of football.
Wonderful. Aka, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Congrats once again to Cameroon, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, wonderful. That's Aka Ayamba Intui. He's a Cameroonian sports journalist. Joined us from Cameroon to give us some insight into how Cameroon put this all together and what the vibe in the country is like now that they've won the WAFCON for the very first time. Your comments are welcome on 0542571061, 0542571061, 0542571061. As I said earlier, Total English Football will be on after the Sporty breakfast, and Angela Mensah and her crew will be on to talk about all the happenings from England. As I said yesterday, the Community Shield happened. Arsenal beat Man City. And there are some transfers also concerning English football. The championship also started over the weekend. West Ham drew their very first game. They drew at Turf Moor against Burnley. So all kinds of interesting things. Michael Asabredu is still on the line. Michael, are you still there? Hello, Michael.
Yep, Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes. I can. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the WAFCON. Cameroon winning it for the very, very first time. They were not part of the original crew. The competition got expanded. They got in, and they did a Denmark, who won the Euros in '92 after not qualifying for the competition.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. And again, anytime Cameroon, I think the last time they won the AFCON came under Hugo Broos. Again, they had to overcome a lot of adversity to put that together. And I think it's similar to this. They were beaten in the qualifiers by Algeria, but they quickly had to assemble a team and come play in the competition due to that CAF decision to expand the tournament. And they've hugely benefited from it. But you would have to underline Cameroon's performance and their eventual winning of a competition and point it towards, I think it's much more about their defense. They did not concede a single goal in the knockout stage. Quarterfinal 1-0 against Nigeria. Semi-final 0-0 against Morocco, winning 3-1 on penalties due to some excellent saves from their goalkeeper, Benia. And then in the final, they beat Malawi by 3-0. In the games that they played in the tournament, they kept as many as 4 clean sheets. And they considered just 2 goals, one against Mali, one against Cabo Verde, which is quite ironic because these are relatively the easier opponents they could have kept clean sheets against. Cabo Verde was a debutant. Mali, not so strong in terms of women's football. But in games against Ghana, in games against Nigeria, in games against Morocco, and against Malawi, who have been dubbed as a team that has really punched above their weight in the competition, for Cameroon to stand on their feet and then ensure clean sheet against them and then win, I think it is very, very important that we underline that Cameroon's winning of the WAFCON owes to 1, high efficiency, and then 2, strong defense. They were so solid, and their goalkeeper has to play a part. I was so intrigued hearing the story from Maka, where he said that she's gone through the mill, actually through Cameroon, but then again in Portugal, she fought for her place to become the kind of goalkeeper she is at Benfica, and you have to give her the plaudits. And also kudos to Andre Onana, because his club has contributed 7 players to the Cameroonian team that won the WAFCON.
Yeah.
And so that is an investment in the game. If you're able to not just play the game and then empower yourself economically, but rather invest back into the community and then see it benefit as many as 7 female footballers, it is very important that we underline this fact. So I think Onana has done tremendously well for Cameroonian women's football, and he deserves to be a part of this success story that we are talking about. And I think Cameroon grew stronger, especially in the knockout stage. When they beat Nigeria, it helped their confidence. It gave them belief that they could actually do it. Because if you eliminate Nigeria, then it narrows the picture in terms of the favorites for the competition. Nigeria have been dominating this WAFCON. It's been their own. So if they are out, it means the team that kicks Nigeria out stands a very good chance of winning the competition in itself. And I think their confidence soared beyond the roof when they also eliminated Morocco. And it was so clear that now they could actually be talking about their first WAFCON trophy, and that they did. And in a team that were also not very strong attacking-wise, I think Marie Inga also was a very reliable or dependable player in terms of the goals. She was giving them the goals. In the final, she produced 2 goals when they won by 3-0. But she scored 2 goals against Mali as well. And she scored that penalty against Ghana. So overall, in the tournament, Cameroon scored, I stand to be corrected, 8 goals. And Marie Inga produced 5 of the 8 goals. I think Cameroon had players they could actually depend on. They had a strategy that worked. The coach did not do too many changes because she took over the team. Valentine Nguele took over the team, I think, June 2026. And so it points towards the fact that the coach did not really have much time with the team. She quickly had to assemble a tournament team. And that is similar to what Hugo Broos did when Cameroon won the AFCON. He assembled a tournament team. It is not necessarily the best team or a team that plays pretty football, but it's a team that is armored with a certain strategy, and they are built based on tactical discipline and overall defensive solidity. And they demonstrated that throughout the competition, and it played out in how they won. So congrats to them. How far can they go? We can't tell. But the story is so significant to the extent that it will always refer back to Ghana. We have been here, and we've been parading ourselves as second best at a point in time when this WAFCON actually became the tournament it is. It was Ghana, and as the second best to Nigeria. South Africa overcame us. Equatorial Guinea overcame us. And now Cameroon has added to the story. So how can we also make sure that the whole story about our women's football will not always end in being second best, being third best? but rather we also get to enjoy some of the success in terms of being the winners or the champions of such competitions. But let me not take anything away from Cameroon. I think they deserve this victory and they deserve the success that they are enjoying.
They played against Malawi. I guess two of the unlikeliest teams ever to make a WAFCON final, but they got there. Thoughts on Malawi? Their journey was absolutely amazing, but you could almost tell that was a bridge that was a bit too far to cross for them when they took on Cameroon in the final.
I think so, yes. It's true because, again, when you analyze all these facts and everything around why some of these countries are able to do what they are doing, it fits into the bigger political picture. Why CAF had to expand it? But for the expansion, we will not be seeing some of these stories. If it was just restricted to 8 teams, it makes qualification very difficult, especially for countries like Malawi, who would need to then play the best of their region to be able to stand a chance of making it here. Or even if it's not tied to their region, they will, if they want to select the best 8 women's teams from Africa to play the WAFCON, they will have to go through countries like Nigeria. And in qualifiers, it's tricky. It is different from a one-off game in a tournament. If Malawi were to play Nigeria home and away, things would have been a bit different.
Yeah.
So I think the expansion allows some of these countries to come play and then also showcase what they have. And we've seen that in the men's game, and we are seeing that in the women's game, and that is pretty positive. But the rise of Malawian football, again, they've had the benefit of playing regional competitions that has put them in the right shape and the right mentality. It gives them confidence, because if I am regularly competing in the COSAFA Cup, what it does to me as Malawi is that I get to play Zambia, I get to play South Africa, and these are quality opponents. So I can measure the performance of my players against them. And then I can make some adjustments, and then it will bring some improvements. How consistent the COSAFA Championship is in that region, the South African region, it is very different from how it is over here. I don't remember the last time we played an actual West African or WAFU women's tournament where our teams had consistent participations so that it will sharpen them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember in the last 4 years the Black Queens playing 2 WAFU related tournaments. You get it?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
in COSAFA, in the South African region, Malawi has to play. So it helps them to build a certain identity. It helps them to put together a certain football project because they have competitions to play in. So even before playing at the WAFCON, Malawi will try themselves out and know what kind of a team they have, and then how they measure up against some of the top opposition. And I think it is what has built them up. Because gradually at the COSAFA, you could see that they were rising, they were pushing up. The last time when we were going through how Malawi has been able to shock some of the teams we are seeing in this tournament, it was clear. 2020, they made the COSAFA semi-finals. 2021, they were runners-up. 2022, they went out of the group stage, but they bounced back in 2023 to win it. So in a 3-year period, they had 4 participations in the COSAFA Women's Championship. That is a 3-year span. From 2020 to 2024, they made 4 semi-final appearances in 5 of the COSAFA Women's Championship. And this is good for any team to build themselves up because you give the young players in the team too an opportunity to play. So players like Ruth Kajere and the others, they are young, but again, they have relative tournament experience with the Malawian side, and it allows them to settle in. And again, there is one about Faith Chinzimu. I don't know if I got the name right. Faith Chinzimu, or I think it's either Chizimu or Chinzimu. She was developed through the Malawian football project. They have this academy there. They call it the Ascent Soccer Academy. They actually competed in the COSAFA qualifiers for the Women's Champions League. So some of these players will be groomed using club football. It gives them a certain exposure. So there is kind of a domestic pathway. And so gradually, what such teams do, like the Ascent Soccer Academy I spoke of, is to expose very local Malawian football talent to a certain regional audience. And then they expose them gradually. So, for instance, if Ascent Academy is consistent, and then by grace, they make it to the main Women's CAF Champions League, what it means is that they will break that that barrier of only restricting themselves to the COSAFA region and now entering into the African region. And it gives them more belief because they'll be allowing a lot more players to pass through the ranks and then go there. So you can see that there is a domestic pathway and then there is a national or international pathway that they are doing. And it is exposing a lot of Malawian talents to some of these competitions and then some of these platforms. That aside, Malawi were also able to achieve this due to two super talents. I don't think in the history of Malawian women football, they would be able to produce players like the Chawenga sisters, Tabita and Temwa.
Mm-hmm.
They have actually, if Zambia boasts of the Barbara Bandes and then Rachel Kunadanjis, then I think the Chawinga sisters can stand toe to toe with them and prove that yes, they also have arrived. They have played in some of the best terrains or the environments you can talk of. One has actually won a top scorer award in the women's league in Italy. Again, one plays for the Olympic Lyon team and the other plays in the US. Again, they've had exposure playing in China, Asia. You see, so they have been fully developed. First, they had the raw talent, and then the pathway sent them to origins or destinations naturally you wouldn't expect a Malawian women's player to go to. And that has built their profiles and it's developed them further. And so the sisters carried the team along right from their first game and throughout the games that they played. They carried the team along through their playmaking and then primarily their goal scoring. And it was enough to push them there. So I think everything has aligned perfectly for the Malawians. They had two super talents. They had a plan that produced some local component of players who are averagely very good. And then they also had a solid plan in terms of exposure to regional competitions. They built a certain identity with it, and then they came to the tournament with it to showcase what they also have to offer. And I think now the conversation will change when we talk about women's football, just like we spoke about the likes of Ongwene, we spoke about Equatorial Guinea and what they were able to do. Mm-hmm. This story will mirror that. They did not win it. But I think even in making the World Cup, even in making the second place at the WAFCON against all odds, it is a bigger achievement for them. And it's enough for them to reflect and then use the character they exhibited during that run in the COSAFA Cup, which they eventually won in 2024, to push further and see how far they can go as regards the WAFCON. But this was a brilliant showing for them. It's unfortunate that they had to lose the final to Cameroon in that manner. But all the same, I don't think they really disappointed themselves.
You're right. Fairy tale run. And you know, there's something very important in what you said. The bit about the development bit and the regular competition. Because what the COSAFA platform would allow a team to do, as you're saying, play regularly. It's a high-profile competition, so it's a heavy-stakes competition. But as you play a lot more of these things, you develop a certain taste of how to play in a competition environment, and you develop the chemistry as well. When you watch Malawi play, there's a lot of chemistry, belief, character, because for a first-timer at a WAFCON, Michael, they didn't look like first-timers. They looked like they had been here for years. It's true. I mean, I was so surprised at the calmness, the bravery, and the character and the intensity with which they played, especially when they played the Black Queens. They played as though they had been here all this while and they knew what they had to do at this level. Meanwhile, they were debutants, but debutants with a lot of competition experience, albeit at a regional level, in playing it consistently every year. What they do is they develop, as I said, the strength, the character, the grit, and what you must have in a competition to survive. And they showed all of that. So congrats to them. Congrats to Malawi for finishing second. The sky's the limit. Let's see how they fare. The World Cup is a different animal. It's a different beast. But at least they've made it at the very first time of asking. And for me, that's very impressive. Their first time at a WAFCON, and they've got to a final and booked the World Cup ticket. Brilliant stuff. Anyway, we are wrapping it up here on the Sporty Breakfast. Michael, thank you so much. We'll catch up later. Enjoy your day and stay safe.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Wonderful. Michael Asari-Bredu joining us from Kumasi. Just before we leave, this one says, happy birthday to our brother, Nana Kojo Afre, a.k.a. The Joker. He's currently in the USA, Connecticut. He's formerly of 3 Sports. So the message is from Mami Queen, Aneki Akawawa, and all your friends in the industry. Have a blessed day. Nana Kojo Afre. Shout out